Star Wars 7 by 7 episode 3134. Happy February 1st. With the start of a new month, we're going to explore what we have to look forward to in the world of Star Wars storytelling. Punch it! Hey Rebel Rouser, I'm Alan Voivod, and this is Star Wars 7 by 7, your daily dose of Star Wars joy. And thank you so much for joining me for it. So, as we do with all of these episodes, we look at 12 categories of Star Wars storytelling. We have movies, live action series, animation, books, audiobooks, short stories, comics, virtual reality, video games, merchandise, streaming, and live events. So let's dig in. We'll start, as we usually do, with the movie situation, which we have no information about at this point, and I think all the fingers are being crossed for reveals at Star Wars Celebration Europe happening in April. There are basically three movies that are potentially the one slated for 2025. That would be the Damon Lindelof movie, the Taika Waititi movie, or the Patty Jenkins movie. One of those three is bound to be the one that we're going to get. And as far as the timetable goes, we did this previously, and so we're kind of rebooting the situation. We're looking at the timetable for development of The Force Awakens, which very easily lines up right now because that released in 2015, and we're talking about a 2025 movie, so the math is really easy to do. So looking at February 2013 and where they were in development, script writing was still happening. Michael Lont was working with Simon Kinberg on the story. As we know, of course, the script wouldn't be finalized for another year, but, so be it. And there was a big art department presentation according to the Art of the Force Awakens book, and it included the writing team as well as story group and executives, the art department, and ILM. All these folks were represented, where they started looking at the first round of concept art that had been developed for the movie. And just to give you a little taste of the kinds of things they talked about, Darth Vader's castle, as illustrated by Ralph McQuarrie in his work on The Empire Strikes Back, that was a part of the conversation. The nature of the Force, the junk planet, which would eventually become Jakku, and Luke's hovel were also discussed at the meeting. Now, as we've discussed on the show before, because Patty Jenkins' Rogue Squadron was in development for so long, there's a good chance that there's already a lot of concept art that's been developed for that. As for Waititi and Lindelof, maybe not so much, but it would be in active development if one of those two movies is going to be the one going forward. On the live action front, of course, we are counting down to The Mandalorian Season 3 debuting exactly 1 month from today. And then on the horizon, we have the Ahsoka series at an as yet undefined time in 2023, and Skeleton Crew as well. I don't think we got official confirmation for the end of filming for the Ahsoka series, and of course we didn't get it for Skeleton Crew, but we talked recently about how there was a post on Instagram that was subsequently deleted very quickly, suggesting that filming for Skeleton Crew had ended as well. So those three look like they are the three seasons that we are getting in Star Wars live action for 2023. Looking ahead to 24, The Acolyte is currently filming, and/or season 2 is currently filming. And as far as a third season of, or a third season of anything, a third season of Star Wars storytelling happening in 2024. Well, Mandalorian Season 4 is currently being written by Jon Favreau, and he said back at Celebration Anaheim in 22 that it was being informed by the events of the Ahsoka series. I'm sure it's also being informed by the events of Season 3 of The Mandalorian as well, but all of that is in development, and it does kind of suggest the possibility that Mando Season 4 is going to be the other series that we get in 2024, and will probably be going into production later this year. Again, that's something we'll probably hear about at Celebration in 2 months. On the animation front, The Bad Batch Season 2 is underway. In fact, Episode 6 drops today, and we'll be talking about it tomorrow. Then we have the mid-season finale actually happening next week, so we're going to get 2 episodes. So ultimately 5 episodes of The Bad Batch in this month. We're also getting sometime in the spring. It's not spring yet, so not happening in February, but they should be putting the final touches on Star Wars Visions and also Young Jedi Adventures, which is targeted at very young audiences set in the High Republic era. We still don't know what era of the High Republic or whether it's going to be consequential for our understanding of the timeline. Usually not. Like they've said that you don't necessarily have to consume everything to really understand the full picture of storytelling in the High Republic, but yeah, we'll still keep an eye on it for you all the same. On the book front, going to be a comparatively light month. The script book for The Battle of Jedha by George Mann, that audiobook original, is coming out on February 14th. And then The Chronicles of the Jedi, which is an in-universe book written by Cole Horton, will be coming out at the end of the month on February 28th. For audiobooks, we're not getting anything in February. For short stories, probably not getting anything. Star Wars Insider issue 216 is due on newsstands February 7th, but if you subscribe, you've already gotten it at home, and we've already talked about the Tale of Enlightenment that's in there. Issue 217 is supposed to be on newsstands March 14th, so it seems unlikely that we're going to have it in February in mailboxes and whatnot, but, you know, we'll see. On the virtual reality front, we are getting this month the Tales from the Galaxy's Edge Enhanced Edition for PlayStation VR 2, so that's good fun. I don't gather that there's anything new about it necessarily, other than just it's on a new platform, but, you know, we'll see when we get closer to the actual event. I believe it's February 23rd that that's releasing. On the video game front, we're counting down to Star Wars Jedi Survivor, the sequel to Jedi Fallen Order. That's not coming until March 17th, but I'm sure the buzz and build-up around it is going to start happening. And there's that other video game hanging around that we're still waiting for information about, Star Wars Hunters, that's supposed to be released on the Nintendo Switch and iOS and Android too. I went looking for additional information about that and found that there had been on their website a game update posted in October of 2022, and it was for game update 0.15.1. So there's some kind of release for this thing out in the wild, and there were a lot of gameplay updates. There's conversation about a squad brawl feature that the game is going to have, in addition to Huttball and a couple of other gameplay options. And Marco Shiro's novel Hunter's Battle for the Arena is still on the calendar for March 7th, so yeah, something is going to happen with Hunters, and maybe we'll actually find out what'll happen this month. That would be fantastic, I think. And then continuing on into hypotheticals, looking at the streaming category, there's nothing that we know about that's been announced as of this moment, but I'd be remiss if I didn't point out that we are 2+ months after the end of the Andor series, and there has yet to be any sort of documentary, Disney Gallery kind of addition to Disney+. The Obi-Wan Kenobi thing, A Jedi's Return, that came out on September 8th, so about 3 months after the end of the Obi-Wan Kenobi series, you know, give or take. And the Book of Boba Fett Disney Gallery episode came out on May the 4th, which was, you know, like a couple months and change after the end of the Book of Boba Fett series. So February would be prime territory for an Andor documentary to be released. And, you know, to do it before the Mandalorian season starts, that would be ideal. Otherwise, I don't think we'd see it until, you know, well after the end of the Mandalorian season. And on the merchandising front, well, they had Mando Mondays for season 2, so wouldn't it be fun if they did a Mando Mondays merch thing for season 3? No announcement about it as of yet, but yeah, again, you know, we check that stuff out because sometimes the descriptions on the products will tell us a little bit of something about the story, but they've been really tight-lipped about that stuff and very controlled in the information they put out. So yeah, we'll see. On the comics front, all of the main ongoing titles will be getting issues, including Darth Vader 31, Dr. Aphra 29, Bounty Hunters 31, Star Wars 31. On the High Republic side of things, we're getting the High Republic issue 5 and the first of the 4-issue miniseries, the High Republic Adventures, The Nameless Terror. We're also getting the first issue of the Son of Staros miniseries, the 4th issue of the Yoda miniseries, and the 3rd issue of Hidden Empire, which is the 3rd of 5 in a miniseries that's also the 3rd trilogy from Charles Soule about Kira. And lastly, for events and live experiences, so Star Wars Celebration, the run-up is happening and more announcements will be happening. We talked about how it seems to be coming at a comparatively accelerated pace so far, so expect more news to be dropping about Celebration in the month of February. As far as an event that's actually happening in February, well, the Disney Investor Relations earnings call is happening this month on February 8th. This will be the first one with Bob Iger back in the CEO role. So that should be interesting. And occasionally there's interesting news that comes out of those investor calls in terms of Star Wars storytelling. So that's one of those we listen so you don't have to be bothered with it. So we'll check it out and let you know what happens if it's of note. And that right there is going to do it for what we know about and what we can guess about for Star Wars storytelling, educated speculation, as it were. Thank you, Hector Rios, for that particular phrase. That's what we've got for you for today's episode of the show. And it just remains for me to say thank you so much for joining me for it, as always, and may the Force be with you, wherever in the world you may be.
7x7 is not endorsed or sponsored yet by Lucasfilm Limited, Disney, or 20th Century Fox, and is intended for entertainment and information purposes only. Star Wars, the Star Wars logo, all names and pictures of Star Wars characters, vehicles, and any other Star Wars-related items are registered trademarks and/or copyrights of Lucasfilm Limited, or their respective trademark and copyright holders. May the Force be with them. All original content is copyright 2021 by Star Wars 7x7. We hope you love it.